Hey everyone, and welcome to this week's live, The 3 A's to Success. If you're tuned in, please let me know. Drop a comment in the comments box. If you're watching the replay, hit hashtag replay. If you do have any questions throughout this live, feel free to ask as we go through, and I'll bring as many as I can into this space today. I love this to be a discussion so we can talk about what you're aiming for, what your goals are, what you think success is for you, how you define success. We'll talk about that in a second. And also how you think you can make progress towards whatever vision or goals you're setting. I can see some of you are tuned in early. Got some keen people, which is fantastic. Some comments coming through. And Dini, thank you for letting everybody know it was at 7:30 today. And Paula, I want to say welcome to you. Thank you so much for being here. It's so great to see you. And Dini, thank you so much for tuning in. It's great to see you here as well. So my first question for you, so I've got what I've developed as the 3 A's of success, which I'll share with you all as we go through this live. But I want you to start to think about, first of all, how you define success. So success is very different for each person and each individual, and what you might see as successful might not be what somebody else sees as successful. So think about that. But also, if you were to kind of give 3 key elements to success, whether they're A words or B words or whatever, what would you give, or what would you advise people on what the 3 key elements to success were? So my first question is, what would be your 3 key elements to success? I'm going to put this in the comments box. So what I've decided to do with these, so I'll be going live every Sunday at this time at 7:30 every week. And after the live session, I will be giving, I'll be attaching a PDF, an editable PDF to the live session with a few of the key points that we've discussed and a bit of space for you to type in some of your own notes or things that you're working on. Harrison, it's wonderful to see you. Thank you so much for tuning in. Frank, it's great to see you. Thank you so much for being here. I'm really grateful for everybody being here and for sharing this time and this space together. So my aim is trying to keep these short, so half an hour powerful sessions where we can do some really deep dive learning together. But if the engagement is high and you guys have got a lot of great things to share, then I don't mind going a little bit over. So my first question is, so I'm going to go through the 3 A's and what we need to think about, some points to consider at each of these steps, each of these A steps on that process. But I would love to know what you think would be your 3 key elements to success. So Harrison has said behavior and attitude, 100%. You've got an A there, but it's not one of the A's that I have here. But behavior and attitude is definitely key towards success. We need to have that right behavior. We need to have that right attitude to really persevere and push through the challenges and limits that we encounter and the blocks we encounter on our journey to success. So anybody else, what would be your 3 key elements to success? And then I'm going to share mine. And I'll break down each of them. So Paul Adams has said, attaining a goal, completing a task, and mindset. They're all very fantastic. And attaining a goal, everything you mentioned there falls under my 3 A's. So it's absolutely fantastic. Thank you for sharing that, Paula. Frankie says authentic, amazing, and active. 100%. Love those 3 A's. Not the 3 A's that I have here, but really, really powerful A's. We need to be authentic. We need to be amazing at what we do, and we need to be active. Active is so important. Anything else? Andini, what would be your 3 A's for success? Or 3 elements. Doesn't have to necessarily begin with an A. But I like that, Frank. That was quick. 3 quick A words. Okay, and while we're waiting, just to see if anybody else wants to share their 3 elements, the next question, I just want to know a little bit about what people are working on. So think about how you define success and what would be success for you right now. So for example, if you're writing a book, would success be publishing your book? Do you have a goal, and achieving that goal would be success? What is it that you're currently working on right now that you can start to apply this tool, these 3 A's towards success? Frank says, no, they didn't have to begin with A, but it's good that you got them out quick. There's 3 quick A words. It's fantastic. So key elements to success, and what are you currently working on? Let me know. Okay, so think. So Andini's got hers through. She's put hers through. So decision, ability, and availability. That's absolutely fantastic. So those three words fall under the three A's as well. So some points to consider on decision, ability, and availability. Paul Adams says coaching course, exercise, health, and my book. That's absolutely fantastic. So think about your goals, think about your vision, think about what you want to achieve when working through these three A's to success. Okay, so while we're waiting, I'm going to share the first A that I've captured here. And it's probably the most obvious A, but we need to have this discussion and we need to look at the points that we need to consider when looking at this particular point. And the first A is awareness. So we need to have awareness. We need to understand what it is that we actually want. And the important point in this is what we actually want and not what other people want for us. If we start to do things that other people want, or we've adopted values or things that we want other people from other people, then we're going to lack motivation. We're going to lack inspiration to be able to really achieve what it is we want to achieve. So the first A is awareness, and we need to be fully aware of what we want and fully aware of how we define our success. So awareness is one of the key things that we need to have. I'm just going to go to the comments here. So Andini says, I'm working on becoming a certified life coach. We know that. That's absolutely fantastic, Andini. So think about the three A's when you're going, think about this when we're going through these three A's. Paul Emerson says, awareness, yes, our authentic self. Exactly. This is where that authenticity comes in. Frank, you mentioned authentic. In terms of that awareness, we need to understand what it is that we actually want. So a lot of people's problems in life and why we fail to move forward, and I've had this from my personal experience, I'm sure a lot of you can resonate with this as well, is we don't fully understand what it is we want. We can be really bad at making decisions. So this brings in Andini's decision point. If we can't make decisions, we cannot move forward. One day, one week, we might want this. The next week, we change our mind. Next week, we change our mind again. And we're going round in circles trying to identify what it is we actually want to achieve. And we spend more time going in that loop than we do making progress and moving forward and towards success. So the first thing is awareness. And it's all about really understanding what it is we actually want to achieve and being able to define it in a way that we can start to live it and move it forward. So Andini says first day equals awareness. Yes, thank you so much for capturing that. It's great to put that in there. So it's all about awareness. And one of the things I want to bring in is I was listening to an Alan Watts seminar. So I listened a lot to Alan Watts' work, and he was talking about what happens when we don't know what we want. So a lot of us can get into this place where we don't know what we want. And the reason he proposes why we don't know what we want is for two reasons. Either one, we already have it, or two, we don't know ourselves. And if we don't know ourselves, then how can we know what it is we want? And then he goes deeper. I'm not going to take the deeper spiritual view on this, but he goes deeper into that seminar to talk about how we can never actually ever know ourselves. It's a really interesting seminar. I'll share that in the coaching pod as well for people to listen to. It's one of the most powerful talks I've ever listened to. And it really goes deep into how we can let go and how when we try and control things, we start to strangle ourselves, self-suffocate. It's a really, really interesting seminar. But the key point I want to pull from that is that if we don't know what we want, if we're not aware of what we want, then it's for two reasons. One, we already have it, or two, we don't know ourselves. So then how do we put that work in to begin to know ourselves and find our true authenticity? Because when we get to that level where we're being who we are honestly, openly, authentically, everything is just natural. We know that path. We're guided by the universe, and we know we can start to unfold what it is we want. So authenticity really pulls into this. So Paul Adams says, I'm breaking down my week with attainable goals. I have adjusted them throughout this year, narrowing down what I can actually accomplish. That's an amazing strategy. And we're going to cover and talk about that a little bit later on. That's amazing that you've got these attainable goals and you're breaking them down each week. Breaking down goals is so important to help us get to that long-term vision and that long-term goal. Paul says, I think knowing oneself is critical to everything to me, but also know what we evolve in the the process. Exactly. No, it's really key. And this is the key to that awareness, is getting to that point of authenticity, what it is that we actually want. When we grow up, we can adopt the ideas, we can kind of think we want things and then chase the wrong things. So for a personal story from me, I always, I chased 7 years trying to be a lawyer because that's what I thought I wanted. That's when I was listening to other people. That's what other people wanted for me as well. So I pushed myself to spend 7 years following that path and realized it wasn't for me. I got into law because I wanted to help people. Then when I was in law, it was very competition driven and it was all about making money, and it just wasn't aligned with my values. So I had to make that change and that shift. But when we grow up, when we listen to those around us, we can adopt things, we can do things that they want for us and not what we authentically want. But even worse, we can adopt values. We can adopt other people's values that aren't core values of ours, which causes that misalignment within and that internal conflict. Because if we don't understand our core values, then it's really difficult for us to reach that level of authenticity. And at this stage, at this awareness stage of success, there's a few things we need to consider and think about. So I've captured here in my notes some points to consider. So the first one I just talked about, what are my core values? So these are the things we need to think about at this stage. So if you want to jot these down in your notes, and if you know these, then absolutely fantastic. You're going to be able to master this awareness stage, but just some things to think about. So what are my core values? What are my behavior preferences? So we did the Enneagram workshop last week with Vijaya, which was absolutely fantastic. It was a really great workshop, and we got to learn a bit more about ourselves and about the people around us here in Coaching Minds. That give us that deeper level of awareness on what motivates us, how we like to work, all this sort of stuff. So at this second point, we need to think about what our behavioral preferences are. So the Enneagram test is a good tool. The 16 personality test is a good tool. Myers-Briggs personality test. These are good tools to become aware of who we are as a person and what behavior styles we have adopted. The other thing is we can learn how we prefer, what's our learning style, what's a preferred learning style. So there's Kobe's experiential learning theory. So we've got a test in an exam, like not an exam, but a test, a quiz to work through to find out your preferred learning style. So how do you start to learn and become aware of that? The other thing is, in your relationship, what's your love language? How do you start to understand your love languages? So become aware of our behavioral preferences helps us start to move towards that authenticity. So learn our core values, learn our behavioral preferences. What is your vision? So ask yourself, what is my vision? And can I visualize that? It's so the power of law of attraction. I'm not going to go into manifestation and make this a law of attraction topic, but the power of being able to visualize something in your mind can really help it come into reality. And I honestly believe if you can see it in your mind, you can hold it in your hands. It's so, so powerful. So what is your vision? But think deeper on your vision. Don't just have a statement, something written down. Can you actually visualize living that vision? Can you feel that and presence in there? Because that gives you that inspiration, that motivation to want to take the next 2 A's, which I'll share with shortly, to push forward and really pull yourself towards what it is you want to achieve. The fourth thing to think about is, what is my why? So the why acts as an anchor behind your goals and your visions. Your why is important to have when it comes to a point where you feel like you want to give up, when you feel like things are tough. And achieving what you want to achieve and setting out these goals and these visions, it's difficult work. It's going to be hard work. You're going to have blocks. You're going to have challenges. Life's going to take over and throw other challenges at you that you don't expect. And there's going to be times when you feel like you want to give up. But by understanding that why, and we talked a lot about this in depth in our book club when we looked at Start With Why by Simon Sinek. But the key concept to think about today is, do you know your why? Because that acts as an anchor to keep you moving forward when things get really tough. So if you don't know your why, then that's the area you want to explore in this awareness stage. If you don't know your vision, you cannot visualize it. That's an area you want to explore in this awareness stage. And then finally, what resources do I need? So you also need to think about what it is you need in order to succeed. You need to become aware of what you need to make your goals a reality, to make your vision a reality. We can get and hit a block and tend to give up if we feel that overwhelmed, we don't know where to look for help, support, resources, or things that can help us. So do you have your vision? Have you got your vision, your goal, your why? You know that, but you don't know what you need in order to make it a reality. So start to become aware of the resources, the support and help that you need out there. So I'm just going to go back to the comments. So Paula says, I think knowing oneself is critical to everything to me, but also know that we evolve in the process. I shared that earlier on, but it's a really good point. So thank you so much again for that, Paula. That was amazing and so helpful. I'm glad this is value. You're getting value from this, Paula. If you do have any questions, please ask me and let me know. And he says, yes, awareness is the key to freedom, 100%. Shannon, it's great to see you. Thank you so much for tuning in and welcome back. So thank you for being here and taking your time out on a Sunday to learn and share with us. So if you are tuning in now, we are looking at the 3 A's to success. We talked about what people think their elements are at the beginning, and people shared what they're currently working on towards their success. And the first A is awareness. And we've asked and gone through a couple of points to consider with regards to awareness. So we've simplified this to 3 A's, but under each of these A's, there's a lot of work that we have to do and a lot of points that we have to consider. So I'm going to put this out there. Anyone wants to take a guess? After we've got that awareness, when we fully understand what it is we really want and not what other people want for us, we've reached that level of authenticity. We've got a vision that we can visualize. We've got goals that we know we want to achieve. We've got a why that's going to keep us anchored. We start to know the resources. We've got everything ready. We're fully aware of what it is we want. What do we think is the next A? Let's take some guesses. Paula says, one of the coaching tools really helped me see my vision in my head and breaking it down from week to week. Yeah, there's some really powerful coaching tools in our certification program that really help with understanding. These are great for our coaches who are tuned in. So Paula and Dini, you guys are tuned in. So there's some really good tools in there you can use. And so how do we, coming from a coach perspective here, all the points that I've just written down, what are your core values, your behavior preferences, your vision, your goal, your why, your resources, we have tools in our certification program that we can use to help our clients in each of these areas and with each of these questions. So thank you for sharing that, Paula. It's great that one of our tools has really helped you. And keep that in mind if you're a coach, if you're one of our coaches, how do I help my clients at this awareness stage of success? What tools can I use to bring them? Shannon says action. Action is one of the A's, but that's the 3rd A. So great guess. And we'll talk about action in a second. Paul Adams says how we make it happen. Action, yep. Which is actively action. Yep, active action is important. That's the 3rd A. But the 2nd A, so Andini has said awareness, being aware of what you want, visualize, and knowing your why. Knowing your goals, just understanding basically what it is we want. Because if we cannot decide what we want, we cannot move forward. Frank Adams says, updating our house is a big project that we're about to tackle. I'm thinking we can use these principles. Yep, you can use these principles for any goal, anything that you're trying to achieve. And even looking at the vision as well. How do you visualize what you want your house to look like? And I think this is a really good tool. So anybody who's tuned in who might struggle with visualization is to start with practical things. Instead of trying to visualize what you want in your vision in the future, and if you struggle to visualize this, how do you start with simple things? Like how do you visualize what one of your rooms is going to look like in your house before you buy the paint and the woodwork or whatever it is you're restructuring? So how do you use that? So you can definitely apply these 3 A's to any goal or any project that you're working on. And then he says availability. Availability is a good A, but it's not the next A. Aptitude or affability, some really good words. Ability, nope. So these are good. They all factor into what we're doing here and how we get through the next 3 A's. But the key A, where we can put some of these other A's that you mentioned underneath, is accountability. So the 2nd A to success is accountability. What we mean here is how do we set commitments to move towards our goal and ensure that we stick to those commitments. So going back to what Paula shared earlier on, how she's breaking down those weekly goals, she's found a way to hold herself accountable. So the second A is, and Paul has guessed it there as well, accountability. So the second A is accountability. And this is not just about, we're not talking here, how do we get an accountability partner to help us on the road, but how do we set commitments and make sure that we stick to those commitments? Because if we don't set commitments, we're never going to move forward. And if we don't stick to those commitments, we're never going to move forward either. And there's some points for us to consider at this stage as well. But I want to know that accountability stretches more than just with accountability partner. There's accountability tools out there. When you plan, you buy a journal, a planner, that's an accountability tool. It's going to help you hold yourself accountable towards your goals. And one of the best accountability tools that I ever bought in my life was a Law of Attraction planner. You can get it on Amazon. I think it's about £20-25. And it literally allows you to set your goals, your visions at the start of the planner. It's very beautifully displayed as well. You can get it A5, A4, and then you set the goals behind that vision, you set your intentions in there, and then it literally has a full week plan on every page that you can plan your week and plan your goals. You can write your priorities, you can write what it is you're trying to achieve, and then you can mark off your tasks. It's a really brilliant planning. And so it doesn't have to be a Law of Attraction planner. At the minute, I don't use that. I use a page on my wall here, that's from the kind of Little Prince. But anything that you can use as a tool to help you accountable is really helpful. It doesn't have to be another person. Other people are great, and having somebody that's going to hold you accountable to your rules, whether it's a life coach or another member in Coaching Minds or a friend that wants to achieve a similar goal, then that can really help. But it doesn't have to be people. You can use tools to help hold you accountable. Another great tool, you can get apps on your phone, is a habit app. So you can track your habit tracking. That's a really good accountability tool. So maybe some of the things, so it's one thing to think about when you look at your commitments is what is it that you need to do to make your goal achievable and also to make your vision a reality. So in that, you might have to start to install some good habits into your life. So a habit tracker would be a good accountability tool at this point as well. So here we've got to think about, okay, I need to set these commitments. How am I going to ensure I'm going to meet these commitments, and what tools, people, or resources are going to help me to stick to these commitments? And one of the big things that helped me, if you've got a big goal, so for example, Paula, you mentioned you're going to publish a book. If you have a goal to become a life coach, and Dina, I know you want to become the biggest life coach and the biggest Indonesian life coach in London. Harrison, I know you set up your own company and you have huge goals and vision behind this company. So the best thing you can do for accountability, from my experience, is to publicly announce what it is you're going to do. Because once we've told others, we don't have to go into depth, share our secrets, share all the plans and everything that we're going to do, but just letting people know that I'm going to publish this book, I'm going to set up this company, I'm going to become a life coach that has this amount of success. That pulls us into accountability. It makes us more accountable because it's publicly announced. It puts a little bit of pressure on ourselves that other people know what we're trying to achieve, and it gives us that motivation to pull us towards sticking to the commitments that we're setting ourselves out to achieve. If we keep it quiet and nobody knows about it, then we're less likely to show up to these commitments. We're less likely to put in that work. So a big thing that I've learned on my journey, a good accountability method, is to publicly announce on a Facebook page or to a small group of people what it is you're setting out to achieve. Because now that it's out there in the world, the universe will also help to make it a reality. And what you'll find is when you actually announce these things, the right people, the right tools just show up. People will see that post maybe and be like, I want to help you with this. This is great. I want to get involved. I want to do this. And then the right people and everything just pulls together to really help you achieve that goal. So Paul Adams says, yes, get help from others too. Don't be afraid to ask yourself and others who have completed something, like say wrote a book. Exactly. Get that help and that support from others. Shannon says, I like to use a planner. I need to get back to it. Checking items off feels great. It really does. A planner is amazing. Having that task list, planning your week out, really helps. And sometimes we can fall into that trap where we get so busy, we feel like taking out an hour to plan is too much time and it's not going to help us in the long run. We're too busy to set out that time. That time, that 1 hour, just to set out and plan the week, is so powerful. It makes us so much more productive. We can see our list, we can tick things off, and we can really help hold ourselves accountable to what it is we're working towards. Paula says, I need to learn to use my MacBook so I can maneuver around it to make the most out of it. And that's fantastic. Yeah, and take that time. That's a goal in itself. To learn how to use your MacBook is a goal in yourself. So how do you break down and how do you hold yourself accountable to take that time on your MacBook and explore what you want to explore it for? What's the important things to have on there? What do you really want to use it for? Where's the most benefit going to come from it? So you can apply these 3 A's to really work on how to get through that MacBook. And he says, there you go, guys, hold me accountable, the best Indonesian life coach in London. So we've got it. We've heard it today. Andini is going to become the best Indonesian life coach in London. But I just want to ask you one question to think about, Andini, going back to awareness, is what does best mean? So how does that look like? How do you define best? And that way it's going to pull you and you're going to pull yourself more towards that goal. Shannon says, so true, Paul. Letting people know is key for me to follow through. It really does, because you're not just making a commitment to yourself, but you're making a commitment to others. And for me, when I publish something out on social media, I'm making a commitment to a large group of people. So I'm not just letting myself down by telling everybody else that I'm going to do this. If I don't do it, I'm letting everybody who's following me, everybody who's engaging with me, everybody here at Coaching Minds, I'm letting you guys down. So by announcing it, it makes me, I cannot give up, because there's people that are waiting for this, there's people that are dependent. And one of the things that I want to talk about is when you do publicly announce, there's going to be people that are going to be critical. You're going to get negative responses. It's going to happen. Okay. And you need to be able to prepare yourself and not listen and not let the views of other people hold you back. So I just wanted to put that out there. When you publicly announce, so think about where you want to announce it. Wisdom Creators is a good place because we're full of people that are wanting to grow. Everyone's going to be supportive. But in some groups, in some places, people are not going to like it. People are going to negatively talk to you. People might put comments like, you'll never achieve this. What are you going to do this for? This is not great. People don't want this, all this sort of stuff. You're going to get negative responses. So you need to plan to make sure that you can manage this and not let it affect your goal. So for example, I had a huge negative response recently. I put a story out on Instagram and Facebook. I'm looking to publish my first ebook this month. I've been working on it for some time. I want to make sure that it's really valuable. It's not about me or my life. It's going to be key principles related to the DAO. So I want to kind of modernize the DAO and how we can use it practically to really build our lives and use some of the core principles from there in a more kind of layman's term and easy to understand. So I put the story out, and the majority of people, when I asked if they would purchase it, said no. But I'm not going to let that affect me. I'm not going to let it step back. I put it out there. I've committed to the people, a small amount of people that said yes. So I'm going to pull myself. I'm going to focus on the positive side of things to get this book finished and get it published. So there's going to be times when people are going to be negatively responding to what you put out there. But don't let it pull you back. The point is you're putting you out there for accountability, not for feedback. And generally, if people are giving unwanted feedback, we can ignore it anyway. Harrison says, I love this, so helpful. Glad I tuned in. I'm glad you're here, Harrison. It's really great to have you here. And I'm hoping some of these points here you can jot down. It can help you when working on the huge goal that you have and huge vision that you have for the mental health revolutionists as well. So keep this in mind. Frank says, yes, these are all things PJ is working on, especially taking an hour to plan before jumping into her day. This is amazing to have that plan. It really helps. It's really good accountability. So it's wonderful, PJ, that you're working on this. And thank you for sharing that, Frank. And he says, best life coach equals help my clients achieve the result they want. Okay, so I'm going to coach you here, go to a few more coaching questions. How big is your client base going to be the best in Indonesia? What kind of results are you going to help them to achieve, just so we can get into that deeper level awareness? Because the more we understand, the more we can take steps to make it a reality. We can set those accountability commitments and those mini goals to get to where we want to be. Paul Adams says you have to ignore negative messages and look to where you feel the most energy. 100%. People are going to be critical, but you have to just ignore it and move on. Andini says, yes, a channel public accountable is very powerful. It is. Harrison says, I'm going to purchase it. That's great. Thank you so much. I hope it's going to be valuable. I'll let you know. I'll let everybody know when it gets closer to the time. but it's on something that I really love to write about, which is the DAO. So Shannon says, yes, Andini, ideally we'd be accountable to ourselves. However, I'm more likely to get things done when others are counting on me. 100%. Exactly what I was explaining earlier on, Shannon. When we tell other people and other people are counting on us as well, we're more likely to never give up and pull forward. Sometimes if we're just keeping things to ourselves and we haven't announced it, nobody knows about it, and we're feeling those negative emotions where we want to give up because it's too tough, it's so easy to give up because nobody else is counting on us. So public accountability really helps. So I'm just going to go back to the few other points I've got here to consider. So what do I need to do to make my goal or vision a success? So think about the commitments you need to do, but also think about what it is you need to stop doing. So sometimes we can forget this part. This is what I need to do. This is the action that I need to take. This is what I need to do to become successful. But there's certain things we have to stop doing or certain sacrifices we have to make in order to make our goal or our vision a reality. So for example, you might have some bad habits. You might be a party animal. You might go out every Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and then you're hungover on the weekend, which is your spare time to work on your vision. So you might have to sacrifice those parties with your friends in order to make your business, your vision, your goal a reality by spending that time on the weekend. And I'm using this as an example because this is something that I did and I went through in my own personal experience. I used to work full-time 9 till 5 with extra hours of overtime in a corporate company. So that was 9 till 5 during the week. I wanted to start to set up my coaching business, but I realized that I would go out drinking on a Friday and Saturday with friends. I was hungover Saturday, Sunday, and kind of just had leisure time on the weekend. So I realized I had to sacrifice and stop that to have a nice relaxing night so I could spend Saturday and Sundays working on my coaching business. So you think about the things that you have to stop doing to help you achieve your goals. So that's just one example. It could be bad habits that you have, things that are not going to help you with your goals. So just think about things that are not being productive for you or might be holding you back in making your vision a reality. So just going back to the comments, lots of stuff coming in. Harrison says, I made lots of notes. Thank you. That's fantastic. I'm going to draft up some and post the PDF afterwards. So the key points that I've covered, especially the questions and points to consider at each of the stages of the A. Shannon says 100%. Paula, I need to stop my negative self-talk. That's a good one. Stopping the self-negative talk is going to help us pull towards our vision and make that a reality. Paula says, I need to tell myself it's actually attainable. Yet we need to feel it and we need to believe it. And that's where that vision and that visualization comes in so powerful. We've got coaches here. So if you struggle to visualize, we have a coaching center. It's donation-based. And a lot of our coaches know a powerful visualization tool that they can walk you through to really feel this vision. And when you're put into that space where you can feel the vision, you can see the people around you, if it's a book, you can visualize holding that book in your hand with a title, with a page. It's really powerful and it makes it believable. It makes it attainable. And then from there, you can start to work back, have that plan, and then stick to your commitments. And always bring yourself back to that visualization if you're struggling, and always remember that why as an anchor. Mimi, it's wonderful to see you. Thank you so much for tuning in. So grateful for you spending your time here on a Sunday to join us. We are talking about the 3 A's to success. So we talked about awareness, how we need to be fully aware of what it is we want and not what other people want for us. And then we've just talked about accountability and how we set commitments and how we ensure that we stick to those commitments. Andini saying, guys, come and share your big goals and vision so we can hold you accountable. Great point, Andini. That's great. Let's share the big goals and put it here so we know what you're working on and we can hold you accountable. This is a good space to publicly announce whatever it is you want to achieve. Paula says, if I miss something that is important to me, I need to forgive myself right away and remember there is always a replay. 100%. 100%. And I honestly find that we miss things for a reason. We talk about this in our book club, and we talk about it, I think, it was either yesterday or last week, and we definitely talked about it deeply in the Celestian prophecy, is things come to us at the right time. So when we're in that line, when we're tuned into our intuition, we'll miss things for a reason because that's not our time to hear it right there and then. But maybe a couple of days time or a week later, when we watch the replay, that's the moment we need to hear whatever's being shared at that time. And think about it, it's with everything. It's not just live sessions or replays or sessions that you've missed, But books, I mean, one experience from my perspective, something I've gone through, and I'm sure a lot of you here, we've had conversations, is, I'll buy a couple of books. I like to buy a set of books. I'll keep them on my bookshelf for a few months, and it'll be 6 months, 7 months until I get around to picking one of those books up. But the time at which I pick that book up and start to read it is the perfect time that I need to hear the content that's within it. And that's the same with quotes that I read on social media as well. It happens with me in quotes on social media. It's like, I really need to hear this today. Thank you. Who's had a similar experience? Feel free to share experience with that as well. So if we miss something, you need to forgive yourself and remind yourself that wasn't your time to hear that, and you'll hear it at the time that is meant for you. Mimi, great to see you too. Andy Overfield, fantastic. Really love the interactions between you guys. Paul says, yes, I agree. Once I give myself time to reflect, reflection is so key for me to keep moving forward. Reflection is the most powerful learning tool. The most things that I learn is through reflection. And there's, as you'll find, Paula, when we get later on to the certification course, when we go into module 4, we start to look at how we develop becoming a reflective practitioner. We look at something called the Gibbs reflective cycle, and it's such a powerful learning tool that asks the right questions as we go through that reflection to take the most learning and step forward. And it's a perfect tool to use for the reflective essays and assignments that we have in the course as well. Harrison says, and Dean Overfield, my biggest goal is to create a global organization that raises awareness and offers support to those suffering with mental health issues through survivor-led support. Harrison, you know that I love your vision and I love your goal, and I'm looking forward to seeing it become a reality. The initiative that you have behind that, your drive to want to help people suffering from mental health, is absolutely fantastic. And you're amazing at what you do. I've seen the group that you set up, the action that you've taken to really get things off the ground now, and the interaction that you're getting, and the people that are pulling together to really support you. Honestly, Harrison, it's beautiful what you're doing. It's an amazing goal. I'm looking forward to making it a reality, or to see it become a reality, sorry. Paul Adams says, awesome. I'm looking so forward to learning more. Yep, it's going to be, honestly, I'm looking forward to everyone's goals here. Paula, I'm looking forward to being able to purchase your book and have it in my hand and read it and send you a picture saying, look, we've got your book, Paula. It's amazing. Discuss it in the book club. 2 years' time, the book club we're discussing is the one written by Paula. How amazing would that be? We've got a full 5-week session with a book club written by somebody in our Coaching Minds team. That will be fantastic. And Dini, I'm looking forward to seeing you present in London, to being a huge motivational speaker, to being the biggest Indonesian coach featuring in Forbes magazine, the biggest Indonesian coach in London, something like that. And I'm looking forward to seeing the success of each and every single one of you. Harrison, I'm looking forward to seeing the difference you're making. And honestly, it's going to be fantastic. Some really, really great, huge goals here. I'm looking forward to people really succeeding. Shannon says, just today I was going to stay in and chill, and a friend of mine asked me if I want to go walking in nature later, and I'm so grateful, as that's exactly what I need today. And we're going to talk about that now. So this is going on to the third A, which is action. So the final points that I just want to mention here is, so we've looked at what do I need to do to make my goal or vision a reality? What do I need to stop doing to make my goal or vision a reality? But also, how will I ensure I will follow up with my commitments? So this is thinking about, are you going to get accountability buddy? What tools are you going to use? Are you going to publicly announce what it is you're trying to achieve? This is how you're going to ensure you stick to those commitments. And one thing I recommend from our experience here at Coaching Minds, and personally as well, is when it comes to accountability people, I'd recommend like a accountability triad. 3 people. I think the perfect number for accountability is 3 people. So we've tried with buddy systems in the past, have an accountability partner, but then things happen, life takes over, the partner doesn't show up to meetings, and that flame, that fire, that accountability kind of fizzles out. We've done an accountability group, but I find with accountability groups, we've had about 5 or 6 members. There's too many people, too many things to remember, and there's not enough time to really have those questions. So I think the perfect number for accountability with people is a triad, because if one person cannot turn up, the other is guaranteed to turn up. So as long as 2 of you turn up, you have a good session, and there's enough of you to really talk about each of the things you're working on in a bit more depth. So lots of good stuff coming through. Yes, I'm into that, Paul. Lots of good stuff coming through. I'm going to move on to the A. The last thing is, what accountability measures will I put in place? So there's the points to consider in this accountability stage. What I need to do to make my goal or vision a reality, what I need to stop doing, How will I ensure I will follow up with my commitments? And what accountability measures do I need to put in place to ensure that I can make my goal and vision a reality? And finally, the last point, which everybody's mentioned, the most important, is action. If we don't take action, it's never going to become a reality. So it's good to have the awareness, understand what it is we really want in depth. It's good to have those accountability functions in place and have the commitments that we need and everything we need to do in order to make the goal and vision a reality. But we need to take the action to make it happen. So many of us can stop at this stage. We can spend all that time planning, all that time preparing, but something just stops us from taking that action. Whether we're not feeling it on the day, whether we've lost a bit of inspiration towards it, maybe we received some kind of negative feedback, maybe other things, it's not a priority and other things are starting to take over, we can tend to stop at this point. And the most important thing is whatever your goal, whatever it is you're trying to achieve, just try and take small little actions every single day to build up consistency. Because what makes it a reality, what's really important is that consistency. It's so key. But consistency comes from action, daily action every single day. So for example, Paula, you're writing a book. How do you just write, even if it's just 50 words a day? It's not a lot to write 50 words. If you just write 50 words a day, you're starting to build up that consistency. Even if it's just a paragraph a day and you commit to a paragraph a day, that small action is going to be huge in the long run, and you'll get so much more done doing it that way than if you were to try and set yourself an hour or two to write 5 or 6 pages, and then you don't feel like writing 5 or 6 pages that day, so you never do it. You go to the next one. Paul Adams says 20 minutes a day, so I've seen that come through. So you can set a time limit as well. 10, 20 minutes is not a lot. And if you're trying to get fit, if your goal is to get fit and healthy, do the same with your exercise. Don't tell yourself you're going to go for an hour jog or you're going to go to the gym for an hour. Just tell yourself, I'm going to go to the gym 5, 10 minutes. And then when you get there, you will find that because you're there, your mindset changes and you will find yourself, you'll do yourself a lot more than what you set out to achieve. So I don't know if Paula, for an example, you might have set your 20 minutes, but have you find yourself, you set yourself your 20 minutes, you get really into it, and then an hour later, it's like, wow, I've actually spent an hour on this. It's been fantastic. It's great. But by just setting that mini goal, we're more likely to take that action and step into it. Sometimes you just got to do it. You've got to push yourself. And Shannon, going back, you had to step up and show up today to go on that walk with your friend, and look at that. It's benefited you and helped you. We just got to push ourselves to take that action. So I'm going to put in some stuff here. So visualizing, picturing accomplishments is huge in accomplishing our goals, large or small. Yet, when we've talked about vision boards in the past, that's another way to help with that. So having your vision, even if it's just a vision statement or pictures, however you like to see it, but just having, and I think Andini, it was you that has your, it's quite large. You have it in your bedroom. So it's the first thing you see when you get up every day. I think it was you that shared that, Andini, and you can see it when you wake up. So just having something as a reminder to push you really helps that visualization. Whether it's a big statement, get it printed, or whether it's a vision board or just a poster or something like that you see on a daily basis to remind you that this is what you're trying to achieve. Awesome. Yes, I will get it a tick, and I will be a motivational speaker for people who have experienced big health challenges in their life too. How important mindset is to manifest in health. Mindset is just everything. I'm sure it's been shown, I think it was Tony Robbins that did the study, but 80% of everything we do is mindset. Just believing in ourselves, having that energy. And I really think when it comes to authenticity and it comes from a positive mindset to become successful or to make a difference to the lives of others, is we really need to step outside of ourselves. And one of the biggest hard points to really, like a hard pill to swallow, and a difficult point to understand, is when we have this negative self-talk, when we have these barriers, when we think too much about what it is we're saying, we're too involved in ourselves, we're too involved in our own mind, and we're not considering the other people. Maybe we're considering other people too much. So one of the things that really helped me build confidence in public speaking and being able to do lives confidently was the fact that I used to have those negative thoughts. What if people don't want to hear my message? What if I don't look good? What if I don't sound good? What if people don't want to engage with me? All that sort of stuff runs through people's minds. But the moment I told myself that it's not about me, it's about the message that I want to deliver, and I know if, and it's a big one for Daniel, so a big thing that Daniel shares, if it helps one person, then it's worth it. So if you tell yourself and you go in the mindset that I'm not doing this for me, I'm doing it for the people that I want to serve, there's somebody out there that needs to hear this message. There's somebody out there that needs to learn this model. There's somebody out there that wants to hear what you have to say. And you put your belief in the message rather than belief in yourself, it really helps step into that positive mindset. So we've got to find that way out of our own negative mind. Frank says, yes, I can visualize seeing PJ's book and seeing Andini in person when she throws her celebration. 100%. It's going to happen. It's going to happen. And he says, I can visualize myself reading PJ's book too, and one of Amazon's best sellers. Exactly. And it's going to be amazing to have those discussions in our book club on that as well. Shannon says, mindset is huge. When I thought I was a victim, that's what I became at the time. And that, that's the important thing. What we think, we become. It's really reality. And the more we think it, the more it becomes subconscious. And the more subconscious it becomes, the more difficult it is to change. And it takes some really deep work to change that. But mindset's so important. And it's easy to say these A's, these models, to explain how to do things. But if we don't have that mindset, we're not going to make that effort. We're not going to be able to step forward. We need to be able to show up for ourselves. We need to be able to take that action. And then the last things I want to share here is a few points to consider is the importance of small actions. So what small steps can I take towards my goal? How can I break the goal and vision down to make it more edible? I like to say edible, so you can chunk it and eat it in little stages. One of the big things that, of course, I keep in mind when setting out on a goal is that of Lao Tzu. So a journey of 1,000 miles begins with the first step, with a single step. So just that first step, whether it's publicly announcing it through accountability, taking just one bit of action, writing that first paragraph of that book, getting that first client, and whatever it is we're setting out to achieve, that first step that journey of 1,000 miles begins with that first single step. So think about small actions and how you can break that goal down, that vision down, to work towards it and make it more consumable, more easy to do. The second thing is, and I think it's really important to help navigators, think about a strategy. Take out an afternoon or a day to really think about a strategy for your book. And this is where your goal. So this is where Paula has got that plan in place from what Frank and Paula have shared, that she's going to do this every day. She's going to have these small, she's going to spend this amount of time. That's a good strategy. That's you spending that time to come up with a strategy to work towards your goals. And in that strategy, start to think about things that, okay, what could go wrong? What could go well? How do you start to prepare for any risks that might be associated with what you're trying to achieve? And what are you going to do if that was to happen? How do you mitigate that risk? So really start to think about a strategy and map out your journey to your vision. And again, if you need help and support, we've got a free coaching center here. You can be coached by one of the coaches and they can walk you through setting out a strategy to help you move towards your goals. So think about that. And then the final point to consider when it comes to action is priorities. How do you prioritize well? How do you make sure that what you want to achieve, first of all, is a priority? So how do you make, for example, using Paula's example of a book, how do you make your book a priority in your life right now? How do you prioritize that? And then what are the actions behind that, the priority actions behind that to make it a success? So under action, we really need to be able to prioritize. So we need to be able to chunk it down, take small action. We need to be able to strategize. So we need to be able to have a strategy to map out the road to our vision. And your map, your plan, your strategy is never going to go to plan. It's going to help you. It's going to steer you in the right direction. But you'll have a straight line, and your journey to get there will be like this. It's inevitable. It's going to happen. But as long as you've got that direction to set off on, first of all, then you can deal with the strategies and the different actions you need to take on the road there. And when I think about planning and strategy, a quote from Winston Churchill comes to mind, which is, those who fail to plan, plan to fail. So those who fail to plan, plan to fail. So planning is so important. That strategy is so important. And don't become attached to it. Don't become stuck to it. Be able to change direction, change course, feel it with your intuition on where you have to steer your strategy as you work towards it. And then finally, you need to be able to prioritize. One, to make your goal or whatever it is you're trying to achieve a priority in itself, but then being able to prioritize the actions behind that. And things to ask yourself is, which action, if I do right now, is going to give me the biggest benefit. So think about the action that you're going to take and what's going to give you the most benefit if you were to complete it. And then also look at your small wins, because the small wins can really help build that momentum behind it. So the small little tasks you can do can give you that momentum to really jump into it. So for example, I've seen a lot of small wins from you, Harrison. When I was looking in your mental health revolutionist group, you have the small win of setting up the actual company. That's a small win, quite simple to do. Maybe took about half an hour to an hour to set up, but it's a small win and it gets that momentum going. You set up your Facebook group, small win gets the momentum going. You've gone live in there, you've set posts in there. These small wins are getting that momentum going, and eventually it's just going to snowball. So focus on your small wins, be able to prioritize, have a strategy, and be able to chunk down what it is you're trying to achieve. And that is the 3 A's. So does anybody have any questions on any of them before we duck off? So I'm going to look at the comments here. Paul says, walking out my foundation class at my new exercise class was mind blown at just how important mindset is. I didn't care what anyone thinks about my body, nor did I compare myself to anybody. And that's a really, really great experience and example to share, Paula, because the moment we start to forget about what we look like or how we are, what other people think of us, the more we are focused on achieving the goal and focused on what we need to do to get to where we want to be. And she's saying, so I signed up for 3 months of classes. That's amazing. That's really great. Calorie free too. So humor is a big motivation for me. That's great. Fantastic. And Dini says, everything we do, have, and experience is because we prioritize. 100%. And the thing that I always keep in my mind, and it's I keep in mind for me when I have this talk in my mind as well, and when other people mention this as well, when we always tend to tell ourselves, I don't have time for that. I don't have time to do this. Well, there's time for absolutely everything. It's just whether or not it's a priority. There's time for everything. It's just whether or not it's a priority. So whenever we make something a priority, it gets done. So how do we start to make things a priority so we can get that done? That's half of the battle. We talked about yesterday in the energy bus. It was Adrian DeWall. He shared a really good point that we all resonated with, and we had good discussion. Is by just showing up, by just taking that action, we're already over 50% of the way there towards what it is we're achieving. So we just got to keep showing up for ourselves, and we've got to keep making things a priority. Paul says, because I'm good at adapting, I can move around myself or others to get back on track, or even see that I'm not off track. Just need to reframe my words. Now, and that's really great. Adapting and being able to improvise is so important. Having that flexibility. So whilst we have that plan and that strategy, it needs to be flexible. Like one of the things I always say to people is, whatever you're doing on your goal, make sure you do something for your goal every day, but do what you feel and go with what you feel. So for example, when I'm working on things from Coaching Minds, I have my stuff that I need to do every day. But if I don't have the energy to, say, do a video, record a video, or do something like that, then I'll not force myself to do something the energy isn't feeling right towards, but I'll make sure I'm doing something that I do have the energy for. So understanding your energy management is very important behind it as well. There's so many aspects towards success. It's, there's a lot of hard work that goes into it, but understanding that what tasks can you do? And this is where that priority comes in as well in terms of prioritizing tasks, is having small tasks for when you're on low energy, and then having the big tasks that you need to do for when you have high energy. When you have those high energy, it's making sure you do the big tasks. When you have the low energy, you do those lower tasks, those simpler tasks, whether that's just to design a cover page or just to talk to someone about, I don't know, something that you need for your goal. Understand what the small tasks are that you can do with low energy, and the big tasks that you need high energy for. And then when your energy levels throughout the day are rising and dropping, making sure you manage your tasks with your energy. It really works. It really helps me get a lot done. So just a little tip I want to share. I didn't have that planned, but something that came. So lots of stuff coming through. Shane says, I believe it is using a planner and sticking to it. However, life does happen, so I do use pencils. Pencils happen, yeah, but things do happen, and pencils are handy. But The way I do it, so I always write mine in pen because I don't want to change. I don't want to take it off, because if I put it on there, I make sure whatever I put on my list is a priority. And if I have to rub it out or change it, then I'm not gonna. It allows me too much to change what I'm doing. I can cross it off if I don't want to do it. But one thing when we come to using a planner, the first habit you need to build is actually being able to use the planner. So it took me a while to get into it. So I bought the Law of Attraction planner and I set it up, but then I wouldn't use it every day. So I had to build the habit and pull myself into using. And this is when we talked about habits, we had a habit month before, is habit stacking comes into play here. So being able to, so what habit do I really need to install first that's then going to start to roll on to other habits and good habits? So I had to stop focusing on other habits and just go into that journal, go into that planner, writing in it every day a habit. Because then when I went to that and I opened it up, it was a reminder that, oh, I need to do this habit now. Then I do that, then it would lead to another habit. So we have to start with a plan, make planning a habit, and then go and build from there. And Shannon, that's so important to celebrate your small victories. Celebrating those rewards keep you motivated, keep you moving. Harrison said, this webinar helped me develop personally and professionally. Loved it. Thank you so much for being here. I'm glad you got so much value, Harrison. And I look forward to any questions you have. Just please drop them and we can get back to you. Thank you, Paul. Everyone, it was a great session. It's been really great. Thank you for sharing everything you guys have shared. You've made this a great session by sharing your goals, sharing your visions, asking your questions, sharing your wisdom and your experience. So thank you so much, everybody. I've really appreciated your time. It's been absolutely fantastic. And the last point I want you to take away and reflect upon is, how big do you set your goal? How big do you want to set your goal? And one of the things I always keep in mind is the words of Sadhguru, that it's always better to go for blissful failure than constipated success. So it's always best to have blissful failure rather than constipated success. And what we mean by that is it's better to aim high and miss than to aim low and always hit. Because when we're low, we're limiting ourselves. We're aiming high. Even if we miss, we're still going higher than the low aims that we're already trying to achieve. So just keep that in mind. So thank you so much, everybody. Have a wonderful rest of your Sunday, a wonderful week ahead. And I look forward to connecting with you in whatever sessions that we connect with through Coaching Minds over the next week. See you all soon. And thank you so much.